So today we're going on a trip to the ancient countryside region of ancient Greece. One of the most famous tombs in the Mycenaean culture are the beehive tombs. They are called the beehive tombs because of the hollow beehive shape, and they are made out of mud, brick, and stone. The beehive tombs came about during the Bronze Age, and most other tombs, they have a chamber, a doorway, and an entrance passage. Almost all of these beehive tombs were located in the middle of a hillside, so part of the tomb would be above ground. Each tomb and the way that it was designed represented the type of person buried there and the type of ritual held there as well. The larger the tomb, the higher class of the person buried there. This also meant that the more treasures and riches found inside as well. This shows us that the Mycenaeans had a strict belief system when it came to their burial grounds, and also gave us an understanding about how the dead were treated and depending on what class they were in. These beehive tombs were not just for burials, but they gave us so much more to learn about from the Mycenaean culture. Grave circles B at Mycenae were part of a prehistoric cemetery along with Grave Circle A. These were the major phases in the Mycenaean civilization. Grave circles started being very small and then growing larger and numerous in goods. Different branches were represented of people within the same family and held up to 35, having elite status during their lifetime. Other objects found besides the remains included earrings, swords, and daggers, and various ornaments. Death masks of electrum were also found on the face of deceased males and in good shape. The burial complex itself was found accidentally by workmen digging, and then upon further investigation more were found. Although not much is known, we do know that the people of Mycenae practiced ritualistic burying techniques with the use of group burial. All the information in their society is from their grave sites and the unearthing of these tombs. In Grave Circle A, the bodies of men were found with golden masks covering their face, daggers, and jewels, and other common objects. The masks were made from a slick slab of gold hammered against a wooden background with a sharp tool going over it to add more detail to the face. This is one example of a mask excavated, and it is probably the most known, the Mask of Agamemnon. This was discovered by German archaeologist Henrik Schulman and was a death mask of King Agamemnon, a figure well known in Greek history. Because this mask was the only mask found with a beard, it leads Henrik to believe that this was the Mask of Agamemnon, although we can't be positive. There were also left with markers to remind the living of the deceased, so we know that they were very respectful of the dead.
The Mycenaean civilization flourished in the late Bronze Age, from the 15th to the 13th century BCE, and extended its influences not only throughout the Peloponnesus in Greece, but also across the Aegean, in particular on Crete and the Cycladic Islands. The Mycenaeans were influenced by the earlier Minoan civilization, which had spread from its origins at Knossos, Crete, to include the wider Aegean. Agriculture, art, and religious practices were assimilated and adapted to better express the perhaps more militaristic and austere Mycenaean culture. The Mycenaean are named after the city-state of Mycene, a palace city, and one of the most powerful of the Mycenaean city-states. The Mycenaean civilization was located on the Greek mainland, mostly on the Peloponnesus, the southern peninsula of Greece. The Mycenaeans are the first Greeks. In other words, they were the first people to speak the Greek language. The Mycenaean civilization thrived between 1650 and 1200 BC. The Mycenaeans were influenced by the early Minoan civilization located on the island of Crete. This influence is seen in the Mycenaean palaces, clothing, and their writing system, called Linear B.
Artists would continue the traditions passed on them from Minoan Crete. Pottery, frescoes, and goldwork skillfully depicted scenes from nature, religion, hunting, and war, in developing new forms and styles in the Mycenaean art. Popular Mycenaean vessels forms included stemmed cups, one-handed teacups, tankards, and jugs, with vertical strap handles. The most impressive of all Mycenaean artwork is the gold rhythons and death masks that were placed over the face of deceased, as mentioned earlier, were carefully made and always were uniquely different. Overall, the contributions of Mycenaeans made a huge impact to Western art and civilization.